Hey, how you doing? My name is Chuck and this is the Foundational Marketing Mini Course Video 4. Today we're going to be talking about your website. We'll take a high-level view of all things to consider before you actually start working on your site. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about what's the point of even having a website. I'm talking about the people aspect of marketing with your website. Why are people even visiting it? What are they finding? What's going on with all that? Then I'll talk about the search engine aspect. So if the search engines don't know about your website, then they won't show it to anybody and nobody will ever see it. So that's a critical, important piece to this whole puzzle, is making sure that search engines will show your site. After that, we'll compare building it yourself to hiring a professional. We'll weigh some pros and cons and just generally talk about that a little bit. And then I'll cover a little bit about what's coming up in the next videos so that you can have an idea of what's coming down the line. So let's get right into it, eh? Alright, so what's the point of having a website for your business? Well, first of all, having a website is kind of like having a business card these days. If you don't have one, people think it's kind of weird. If you do have one, but it looks really unprofessional, then people will automatically feel like they can't trust you most of the time. Sometimes it's not really expected for you to have a super amazing website. So if you're meeting someone in person and you can get them to trust you some other way, then maybe you could get away with it. But for the most part, your website is where people look to learn about you, your business, what you do, where you do it, and all of that kind of stuff. And so they expect to be able to find a certain amount of information on your site so that they can gauge whether or not they trust you enough to spend time on you, to give you a call or whatever they might be doing. In my opinion, it is the most important marketing asset that your company has. First of all, it's the only place on the internet that you have 100% control over. You can literally make your website say whatever you want. You can show people whatever you want. It's like a blank canvas. You can paint your beautiful picture on it if you want, or you can just put one dot on it. It doesn't matter. You have full control and you have full ownership over it. Let's just compare this with something like Facebook or HomeAdvisor. Sure, you can go on Facebook and HomeAdvisor, create a page for your business, and spend years getting reviews on that page, adding photos, writing stuff, and that page can produce a lot of customers for you. But the moment that somebody at Facebook or Facebook or HomeAdvisor decides they don't like you, they don't like something you said, they don't like something somebody else said about you, or whatever, they can delete your page, they can block all your pictures, they can hide your reviews. They can do whatever they want because they own that thing, not you. With your website, you own it, you control it, and that makes it an integral piece of your business when it comes to being online. And another cool thing about a website is it's transferrable. You can sell that. If you were to sell your business, your website would go along with it. And if you have a website like we do at Kyle Construction that generates tons of customers like clockwork all the time, that's a mega valuable asset that somebody else could take and use to get customers as well. The time may come where we sell our business and somebody else that understands how to run a remodeling company could step in and start answering the phones and getting customers right away. And so it's very valuable. It's something that should be procured, maintained, and really valued by you and everyone else at your business. So let's talk about the people aspect of your site. So most of all, we're building this for people. We're building this for people that we want to become our customers. So when somebody finds you online and they click onto your site, the first thing we want to show them is what we do, where we do it, and how they can get it. Those are the three most critical pieces of information. If somebody's looking for a remodeler in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, they'll find us on top of Google. And the first thing they see when they click on our website is remodeling contractor, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That has just confirmed that we are, in fact, what they're looking for. If they were to click onto our site and see plumber in Texas, they'd be like, crap, I went to the wrong place. Why did Google even show this to me in the first place? Google wouldn't, but that, you get my point. Or if they click onto the site and it doesn't say what we do or where we do it, that's what they're going to be looking for first. They're like, okay, is this actually a remodeling company? Are they actually in my area? Those are the first things they need to know before they can continue on trying to figure out if they can trust us or not. People also hate surprises. I mean, have you ever clicked onto a website and it was like this crazy thing? There's all these slanted lines and there's stuff moving and you're not really sure what you're supposed to do. And while it might be a beautiful piece of art, if you're looking for a service and you're pressed for time, you probably don't want to be trying to figure out how to use this website. You're just trying to find some information, verify that this company is trustworthy, and then figure out how to get a hold of them. So for 99.9% of local businesses, you want your website to look a lot like all the other websites online. You don't want to surprise people when it comes to the design. You want to have your logo on the top left. You want to have your menu on the top right, in a header bar. You want to keep things symmetrical. You want to keep pictures in grid format. You want to just show people what they expect to see. If things look too weird, then something will switch in people's mind and they'll feel like it's too much work to look at your website, and then they'll just go find one of your competitors that has a normal looking thing going on. People also want to see the people behind the business. So they're not, you don't hire a hammer, you hire the person using the hammer. So in pretty much all cases, I believe it's best to show who you are. If you're a family business, show the family. If you have a team, get a group picture together with everybody standing together in front of your vans or your trucks or your building or whatever. Show people who you are, and that will help them figure out that they can trust you faster. If there's no people at all on your website, it's gonna have this kind of cold feel to it. So always, especially local businesses, people are hiring people. We want to know who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it. Tell us those things. Some additional trust signals might be testimonials. You can ask your clients for testimonials, put them on your site. What's even more powerful is third-party reviews like Google Maps. There's various ways to get that Google Maps box to show up on your site, and it'll pull the information directly from Google. So as soon as somebody leaves a review, it'll be on your website. People trust those even more than testimonials because they can't really be faked. I mean, you could write 100 fake testimonials and put them on your website and nobody would know the difference. But you couldn't as easily go onto Google and create 100 fake reviews. That'd be very tough to do. Also, pictures, depending on what kind of company you have. We have a remodeling company, so pictures are literally worth 1,000 words. People want to see pictures of our work. They want to get ideas for their remodel. They want to see us working on those projects. We have almost as many pictures of us working on projects as we do of our finished product. And it's debatable whether or not you should only show pictures of your finest, nicest work, or if it's okay to show people, a job when it's at a certain stage, like framing or something like that. I like to show people as much as I can. I think that transparency breeds trust, and trust is one of the biggest aspects of my relationship with my customers. So I like to show a lot of pictures. There's a lot of other things that can go into trust, but the best guidepost that you can use is customer experience. As long as you keep customer experience in the forefront of your mind when you're making decisions and taking actions for your business, you will most likely be moving in the right direction. Okay, so how does a visitor become a customer? Let's just assume they found us on Google, they clicked on our site, they looked through all of our stuff. Now they're ready to take some action. So if I'm on your website, I want you to show me what to do and then tell me what's going to happen if I do it. So if there's a phone number on the site, well, that's kind of a given. Hopefully somebody will answer. But if I do get a voicemail, that voicemail should be specific about what's going on. Hi, you've reached me. Please leave your name, number, and address and why you're calling, and I'll call you back within 12 hours or something like that. The phone number should be visible in multiple places on your website. Typically, it'll be on like the top right-hand side in the header. I like to put it anywhere in the text that it makes sense. So if I do emergency plumbing services and somebody is found my website for that and they're reading the section about emergency plumbing services, chances are they have an emergency, right? So they need my phone number right now. So if you're having an emergency, call this number. I make it clickable and all that stuff. We also have calls to action. So there's certain sections on my site, and I'll show you here, that they'll have a phone number and they'll have a button that will open a contact form. So let's talk about contact forms for a second. If you load up like a super generic website template or something, your contact form will typically ask for a name, number, email, and a message. And then the button will say submit. Don't leave that generic wording there. That's not descriptive enough. Definitely ask for the name, number, email, maybe the address. We ask for the year the home was built, and so that we can know if we need to do a lead test. I ask about budget, and I don't just say, what's your budget? I say how much, something like, how much are you looking to spend on this project? I also ask about their timeline because we're extremely busy. We're booked out for a couple years at this point, so we have to be very selective about who we talk to. So I ask about timeline. When are you looking to get this project done? And when I do have a place for them to like write a message or something, I usually say something like, what can we help you with? Or please tell me about your project. I don't just say message. And for the button, what is this form gonna do? Are they requesting a quote or are they requesting a callback? Most of the time they're requesting a callback because you don't have enough information to get the quote. So they're gonna fill out this form, you're gonna call them back to schedule an appointment, and then they're gonna get a quote. So be specific about what stage in the process that they're in at this point, and do everything you can to let them know what that process is, what stage they're at, and what's going to happen if they take this action. I like to make my form say request a callback, and I just take people's name and phone number and I leave the message part optional. And that way it's easy for them. They can just boom, 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 get a call back, and then we can figure out where to go from there. And I'm not wasting their time or setting expectations that are confusing to them. So let's say somebody did fill out that request a callback form or that request a quote form. How responsive are you when somebody makes contact? First of all, how do you know that somebody contacted you? The generic way of doing this stuff is that you'll get an email notification. So I don't know about you, but I get like 200 emails every day, and a lot of them are spam and this and that. And so I even have email notifications turned off on my phone. So email notifications is not a good way for me to get alerted when somebody has contacted me. So I've set mine up differently. Mine will go to my Slack app. Slack is like a messaging app I used for work. I also get a text message when somebody fills out this form. And then on top of that, when somebody fills out a form on my site, they are directed to a calendar where they can actually choose a time to do an in-home meeting, right away. So someone finds us online, they make contact, they schedule the meeting, they're able to do all of that in one foul swoop. We don't even have to talk to them yet at this point, and it's super easy for them. Every single person I've talked to since I made this change absolutely loves it. And I'll get more in depth about this particular thing in a later video, because I want to show you how I set this up so that you can do the same if you think it'll work for you. But the key here is, how long does it take for you to get back to somebody? If you're not able to let somebody choose a meeting time on their own, then that means you need to call them back and schedule that meeting. And if somebody's calling 5 different contractors to try to get somebody on the phone, you're going to have a limited window of time to be able to secure that meeting before they get what they need from someone else. So, if you're doing it that way and you have to call someone to schedule a call, I recommend setting up some kind of text alerts or something so that you can get that alert, look at their answers. If it looks like something you want, call them right away. Super important to show somebody that you can be super responsive. If it takes you 4 days to get back to somebody, what do they think about working with you? This is like their first impression of dealing with you at all. And it took 4 days for you to respond to a phone call. That's not a good first impression. You wouldn't believe how happy people are when you answer them right away. It's crazy. I think that half of the sales I make are because we get back to somebody immediately, and they really appreciate that. And when I'm in the consumer position, I really appreciate that too. So the best customer experience is had by making sure that you're as responsive as possible to people, especially when they're inquiring about becoming a customer. I already talked about this a little bit, but it's worth repeating. Are you clear about what somebody should expect? So a lot of times, whether you're a painter, a remodeler, a web designer, most things, people that come to you don't have a clue what's going on. They're really looking for somebody to take them by the hand and gently guide them and show them what the hell's going on. So treat people like this with your website, with your marketing. Be as simple and clear as possible. Tell them what the process is to get from point A to point B, to get from shitty kitchen to awesome kitchen. This is the path to get there. Have a "you are here" sign and tell them where they are now, and then tell them what they can do and tell them what's going to happen when they do it. And that facilitating the process in that way will give people a much better experience when dealing with you. You'll make more sales, you'll get more customers, you'll get more referrals, all of that stuff. I have written down here, what does your response style say about you? That's exactly it. If this is somebody's first interaction with you, you want it to be as good as possible. Okay, so that's the people looking at your website. But how do people find it in the first place? Search engines. What's a search engine? Like a search engine's like Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo. These are computer programs that are really good at crawling around the internet, clicking on every single link, seeing what's there, and making a catalog of everything that exists online, and then making it so people can query or find something really quickly. So these computer algorithms, they do their best to look at websites through the eyes of people, but mostly they understand technical details in the code and in the words that are on your website. Google robots are getting better every day at understanding images and videos, but text and code is at the very core of how search engines understand the internet. So there's a lot of things that you can do in regards to your website and your just general, all your online assets. There's a lot of things you can do to help search engines know who you are, know what you do, so that they will show you higher on the list and you'll get found before your competition. So some of these things, there's some things on your website you can do. This is called on-page search engine optimization, or SEO. You've probably heard that term before. SEO is like 50% science, 50% art. And people make an entire career out of this. So while there are some simple things that you can do to make a difference, don't expect to max out your SEO potential unless you spend a lot of time on it. A couple main things for SEO: age of your domain. So a domain is like www.yourdomain.com. That's what your domain is. That's something that you rent, or you register, you pay to keep registered. I guess technically you own it. But the longer that you've had that thing registered, the older your domain age will be. And that's one of the main things Google looks at. If you think about it from Google's perspective, they want to be the best search engine on the planet. That way more people will spend more time using their tools. And so Google wants to show the best results possible. And if there's a business that's been around on the internet for 20 years and everything about the website is identical to a business that's been around for 2 weeks, the business that's been around for 20 years will be shown higher in the list because it carries more authority in Google's eyes. The worst thing that could happen to Google is if people were able to make a website and then just come in and take the top spot immediately, because it would create huge volatility in the front page of Google, and it would be hard for them to show consistent results. So domain age is a huge part of SEO. And so if you're waiting to get your website, don't wait. Get that thing online as soon as possible, so at least you can be growing that age. What computers think about, or what computers think people are looking at. When I say that, I mean, all these computer algorithms and these search engines are trying to understand things as people do, and they're getting pretty good at it every day. The speech recognition and stuff is just really crazy. It's like borderline creepy. Not borderline creepy, it's very creepy how powerful these algorithms and stuff are these days. But you can use that to your advantage if you understand a little bit about how they work. Google's not just looking at the technical aspects, but they're also watching how people interact with your website through tools like Google Analytics, Google Search Console. Google can see how people find your website, what they typed in. Once they reach the site, what do? Do they spend 2 seconds there and then click the back button and go look for another site? If they do that, it's showing Google that that wasn't the right thing to show that person, and they'll take you down a notch. If somebody goes to your site, spends a few minutes, goes to another page, spends a few minutes, fills out the contact form, and then closes out the window, that's signaling to Google that that person found what they were looking for and has moved on with their day. That will move you up a notch, because that's a signal to Google that they showed that person the right thing. So Google's watching every single thing that you do online. If you have an Android phone like me, Google's watching everything you do. They know where I'm at, they're listening to me, they know every button I click on my phone, they probably know everything I type in. They're watching everything super closely, and part of the reason is because they want to understand my behavior better so they can know what to show me on the search engine results. So being aware of that, you have to make your website for people and for search engines like equally. Like both of them need to be good. You can't, if one's good and the other one sucks, then your website's just going to be garbage and it just won't work. A really cool tool that came out recently is called Microsoft Clarity. So if you're a web designer or if you manage your own website, check this out. It's free. You can literally see recordings of people browsing your site. Like every single person that comes to your site, their actions are recorded and you can go back and watch them. And you can learn a lot about what people are doing. And sometimes I'll even find like bugs and mistakes that are happening, which is really cool to be able to catch those and fix them. Love that. So check that tool out, Microsoft Clarity. It's free. Another aspect of this is being able to look at your competition and understand what they're doing. So there's a lot of online tools. There's one called Ahrefs, Ahrefs. You can type in someone else's website and you can get a lot of stats about it. And after you look at other sites for a while and you start to understand how these tools work, you'll be able to just start to see like what people's strategies are. You can see like, oh, this person's doing X, Y, and Z, trying to rank better on Google. And when you can identify what your competitors are doing, then you can make sure that you're doing those things and more, and that you're doing them better. Because this is like a race. You only have to beat the person that's in the lead. So if the person that's in the lead is only this much sophisticated, then you have to be that much sophisticated to beat them. And for the majority of us, we don't have super sophisticated competition. That's why nailing it on these fundamentals usually is enough to just kick off a business and start generating tons of phone calls. That's why I love this stuff. So let's talk about building a website yourself versus hiring a professional. So first of all, I have like a double biased opinion here, because my company, Adapt Digital Solutions, we build websites for a living. So I certainly see the value in hiring a professional to do this service for you. But 4 or 5 years ago, I was a contractor who had to figure out how to build my own website at the time and figure out how to do my own marketing, actually to save my job. I had a really great job. I was a superintendent for this remodeling company, and we went from having a full book of work to having no work and no leads, no prospects. So in order to save my job, I taught myself how to build a website and how to run Google ads, and I made it work. It took me hundreds of hours. The website I built sucked. It got mediocre results. But by spending enough money on Google ads, we were able to profitably at least kickstart the business and get some projects booked. And then after some time, our normal flow of referrals and stuff kicked back in, and we were good to go. So there's definitely value on both sides. Let's start out with weighing the pros and cons of building it yourself. So for a lot of you, it's affordability is probably a huge factor. You don't want to spend the money, or you don't have the money to spend. All I'm going to say about this is that your website is an investment. If this stuff is done correctly, it will bring in customers, it will bring money to your wallet. So if you have to spend $5,000 to make $50,000 this year, that's a good investment. So don't look at it like a pure expense, because it really isn't. It's only an expense if it's not done correctly and it doesn't get you any results. If you think that's what's gonna happen, then don't invest any money in it. Another pro, besides being affordable, is that you know what's going on. So honestly, I think it's probably best if the business owner or manager can handle all the marketing, at least at a certain point. If the business is big and you don't have time to invest in this, then you should 100% hire somebody who's really good at it already. But for like a small business that's just getting started, if you're like a one-man band and it's just you, it'll really be, what's the word here? You'll learn a lot if you do this stuff yourself, and you'll have a way better understanding of your business as a whole and all the pieces and everything that it takes, so that down the line when you do hire somebody, you'll know exactly what you're looking for and you'll be able to measure how effective they are. But the cons are serious. It takes a load of time. These Wix and Squarespace and all these little platforms that you can build a website in a day. Yeah, you can build a website in a day, but it's probably going to be trash, and it's probably not going to do anything for you. It's just going to take tons of time, make you really frustrated, and then in the end, you'll likely hire somebody to come in and just scrap the whole thing and start over. That's just what happens. It's happened tons of times that I've personally witnessed. I've been hired for dozens of projects where I took over a project that an owner or a manager had started, and in the very beginning when I was new at this, I would try to use what they started with and make it work. But if you're in construction, I'll try to use a construction analogy here. If you're taking over an addition project or like a home build right after the framing's finished, and then you go in and you find out the framing is all messed up, Are you going to try to build that house on that framing? Probably not. Certainly not if it would be more time effective and cost effective to just rip the whole thing out and build it correctly. And that's what we do with websites at this point, is we very, very rarely will use what somebody has already, because we can get better, faster results by just starting fresh. So keep that in mind. You might be thinking, oh, well, I'll do it myself for a while, and then eventually I could pay someone to take over. Most likely, whoever you pay to take over is going to just scrap that and just start fresh. But the domain age will still be relevant. If you're able to get your website ranking for some things, then a lot of those can be preserved. But just know that it takes a lot of time, and you're not likely to get nearly as good results. Unless you have a course like this. If I had a course like this back when I started, I would have been able to skip a few years of trial and error. And that's the whole point of this, is helping people like yourself either build all of this stuff yourself, or at least understand the process and understand what you want someone else to do for you. So, even if results don't come right away, if you do these things that I'm showing you, you'll get good results. Lastly is maintenance. So a website is like a truck. You can't just set it and forget it. If you drive a truck every day and you never change the oil, the engine's going to explode. A website is the same thing. For our maintenance plans, we go in a minimum of once per month. We update everything. We check the security, make sure, every website is being targeted by hackers hundreds of times a day, all the time. It's crazy. And we want to keep a close eye on things, make sure that there's no hackers getting in. I'll talk about this more in detail in a later video in this mini course, but my website actually got hacked, and since we go in on a regular basis and check those things, we were able to reverse the damage pretty quick. Had we not caught that for another few months, the damage would have been significant, and we probably would have lost a significant portion of our lead flow. So that would have been really bad. So just know that if you're not paying a company or somebody, a freelancer, to maintain your website, you will need to do it yourself on at minimum a monthly basis. Okay, so let's talk about hiring a pro. First of all, you'll most likely get better results. Certainly if we do it, we do this stuff every day. I'm making this course, like I understand this stuff backwards, forwards, upside down, and whatever. We do this all the time. We get consistent results, and investing with us will speed those results forward. It'll take a lot less time for you. A lot of our clients will just give us the logins and all the information we need at the beginning, and then we take over from there. We don't need any kind of input. We are not a generic service, so we customize our service to you and to what's going on in your business and to your market, and so that you don't have to worry about that stuff. It also gives you more options. If we were working together and you said, hey, we want to try to get more bathroom jobs next month, we would like to try advertising, we could just get that stuff going for you in a day or two, and then you could be testing that out quickly and efficiently. We could do emails. We will even be giving you ideas. We'll be feeding you ideas based on the feedback we get from the market and from Google Analytics and all that stuff. There's opportunities everywhere, and we'll be sniffing those out and relaying them to you all the time. But what are the cons of hiring a company like us? First of all, it costs a lot of money. For us to put this foundational marketing system in place, it's $4,500. It's $1,500 a month for 3 months. So that's not chump change. But that's not to say that that's super expensive compared to our competitors. It's actually a lot more affordable than our competitors, because we have a streamlined system and we have like a set way of doing this stuff. And we have a small team of people that understand this stuff as well as I do. So we're just able to go in and get these things complete very quickly and efficiently. So even charging 1/2 or even 1/3 of what some of my competitors charge, we're able to make plenty of profit for us, and everybody wins. My philosophy is I want to charge a low enough amount that it's not a burden on my customers, that it's a no-brainer to them. And that's why we have a 95% retention rate, is it really is a no-brainer. But companies like us are not a dime a dozen. Like, it's hard to find a good marketing company. For some reason, the marketing industry is just plagued by low-value marketers. And I'm not saying that to diss anybody, but a lot of people take an online course or two like this, and then they'll just think, cool, I'm going to go out and sell this for $10,000. And people do that, and people hire them, and they don't get good results, and they get a bad taste in their mouth about marketing in general, and then they just think, oh, well, online marketing doesn't work. Google Ads doesn't work. SEO doesn't work. I hear it every day. But all those things do work when they're done correctly. Like, Google's income is proof positive of that. Google makes hundreds of billions of dollars a year from their advertising. If it didn't work, they wouldn't be making all that money. Let's see, what else? Another con, it does require occasional attention. I mean, that's not really a con, but we will be, if we're maintaining your stuff, we will be going in at least once a month. We'll be doing, everything we do, and then we'll be sending you reports. And it's best, things work best if we can keep in close contact, and we can tell you what we're seeing from our end, and then you can tell us what you're seeing from your end, and that way we can stay on the same page and make sure everything's working as good as it can for you. So even if you're hiring somebody, you still have to pay attention to it. It's never a good idea to 100% relinquish your attention from something, because eventually it will probably go downhill if you don't pay attention to it ever. So that's just some of the building it yourself first, hiring a professional, pros and cons. If you have specific questions, leave them in the comment section. I'm happy to answer. I also do a weekly webinar every Saturday. You can log on to YouTube Live while I'm doing it, ask me any questions there. And of course, you can always call or email me from my website. More than happy to answer your questions. So the bottom line of all of this, on your website and everywhere else, it's all about your customer's experience. At the end of the day, providing the best experience possible to your customers is what makes you successful. For the customers you get online, this starts the very moment they find you on a search engine and navigate to your website. So from the very second somebody lays eyes on your Google Maps listing, you want them to be seeing accurate information with proper spelling, grammar, punctuation. You want them to see as many 5-star reviews as you can manage. You want them to see a phone number that works. You want them to see you want them to see a website link, and then when they click onto your website, you want to show them where you are, what you do. You want to go through this process through your customer's eyes all the time and make sure that every step of the way is shining a positive light on you. That you want every step of the way for your customer to be easy, to be to be pleasant. And if you do that, if you can nail this down every step of the way, your business will just explode. Like, not very many people pay this close attention to their customer's experience. So when you do, it just makes you shine compared to the rest of the people. Your customers will become evangelists. They'll be telling everyone they know about how great you are. And it's also a more pleasant experience for you as the business owner or the manager or an employee. When your customers are so happy to talk to you, that's what makes all of this worthwhile, besides the paycheck, of course. So in the next videos, in this mini course, video 5 will be about the content that goes on your website. I'm going to talk about what goes on it, why it goes on there, and then how you can go about putting that stuff together. In video 6, I'm going to dive into search engine optimization. I'll talk about a lot of the technical details that you can change on your website to influence what search engines think of you and where they show you on the search result page. And in video 7, I'll be talking about optimizing the speed of your website. So in this day and age, a lot of people are using these phones and they're on cellular data. And, oh, I misspelled goldfish here. Golf dish. Video 7, we'll be talking about optimizing the speed. Video 7, we'll be talking about optimizing the speed of your website. In this day and age, most people are using a mobile phone and they have the attention span of a goldfish. So if that page doesn't load within a couple seconds, they're going to be on their way out. And search engines like Google know this. So if your website loads super slow, Google will just not show you. And so video 7 is all about getting that thing to load as quickly as possible. Finally, in video 8, which is the last video of this mini course, I'll be talking about putting all of this stuff together. I'll be ranting about the big picture, about my experience doing this over and over and over again for dozens of businesses all over the place. And it'll just really help you see this whole thing from a high level and understand how to put together this foundation and how it works and affects your business and how you interact with your customers. Join me in my private Facebook group. We have a small community of business owners. We talk about marketing. I post all of my weekly YouTube live events on there. Those are not available to the public. It's only for this private group. And this gives you instant access to me. If you want to ask any questions you want, it's like having a free consultant on call. My whole marketing team is in there too, so they could be answering questions. It's just a hugely valuable place. If you want to understand this stuff better, or if you're trying to put together your own marketing, this is the most valuable resource I could possibly offer you. So go over to Facebook. It's called we're called Foundational Marketers, and there's a link in the description of this video. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.